box scores.
Box scores.
Bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball. Box scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
Hey everybody, welcome. Episode 4, the 4th full-length episode of Box Scores and Bourbon. We made
Welcome
it.
back, everyone. Another
Welcome back.
episode.
Before we begin, cheers, buddy. Open this right.
Cheers, JB. We're going
Clink.
to send things
Yeah.
off or start things off on the right foot.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers to everyone that partakes in sipping a little something while they watch and or listen.
Yeah, and if you're watching, catch us on YouTube, Box Scores and Bourbon,
Yeah.
and our TikTok, Box Scores and Bourbon, BSB Sports 24, and then follow us on Spotify and give us a listen there.
Yeah, we're everywhere now.
Everywhere. Let's get started. I want to start with the whole debacle of the NBA All-Star Weekend. All-Star.
Oh,
Weekend.
yeah.
Put that in air
God.
quotes there because it wasn't. There's not a lot to be excited about. When your All-Star game is 2-11 and 186, that just tells me that there's no defense. You're just waiting on the other side of the court. There's one guy on the other end just waiting for the pass to dunk it or do some fancy layup. That's all it is.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Now
tell me something. Tell me, what is the difference? Because this has been on my mind. What the hell is the point of an all-star voting? And where's the definition the difference between the all-star and the all-pro? Because at this point, referencing what you're saying about the all-star game being a joke,
Yeah.
why aren't they just voting for the all-pro players of the season and then just call it a day?
It's like the difference. Remember in grade school when we had the honors classes, but you were graded on the much greater scale, like 90 to 100 was an A. So, but if you weren't in the honors class, the teacher gave you an A++. So the A++ are the all pros. They're just told, hey, you were good. You're just not good enough for people to see more of you. We'd like to keep you here in the back of this classroom. So as few as people as possible actually know who you are.
There you go.
I think that's the only way I can equate it because because even when these players retire, they're like all-star games and then all pro. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, a lot of pluses behind that A. Good job, buddy.
And for some reason, they've decided to, especially in the NBA, they've decided to determine how much money they make off of how many all-star games they make and how many all-pros they make, which is wild to me.
The whole system's wild. Okay, so here's what we saw. We saw a bunch of nothing. I saw the celebrity all-star game. I didn't see any celebrities. I saw a bunch of people who I've never heard of before.
Micah Parsons was there.
Yeah, Micah Parsons was there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time in a long time that anything he did actually produced something that was close to a trophy. So congratulations.
Wow. He put up 34 points and got MVP.
He's going to take that back. He's like, hey, Dak, I didn't see you in the All-Star game. Yeah. He's eating your chunky scoop.
I don't see you winning MVPs.
Why don't you go back to your mom's house? So we saw that. I saw bits and pieces of the All-Star game. It's so unwatchable now. I do have a few takes on how to fix it. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought about that.
And it combines that really stupid in-season tournament. Okay. So here's what you do. All right. You keep the skills competition. There's no more NBA, really quote unquote All-Star game. Here it goes. Okay. Mm-hmm. It opens with, your D-list celebrities. Okay. Give them a basketball. Let them live out that pipe dream that they always thought that they could do NBA if they weren't distracted with their other professions. Okay. Cool.
And then they realize that the basket's actually really tall and they can't make it.
Yeah. Until they see the guy behind there lowering the goal every time they go make a dunk. And so you keep the celebrity all-star game. You do the skills competition, right? And then you take the NBA All-Stars and the WNBA All-Stars, and then you have a game that way. And then
Ooh,
that
mix and
does
match or against each other?
it makes a match because I mean it would just
Ooh,
be 400-7 if it was the NBA versus WNBA.
yeah,
So
that might be true.
and twofold. One, you get people to watch the game, and two, people actually get to see what a WNBA player looks like. It's a mythical creature. No one's ever watched a game. So
They're
almost
never
as
anywhere
if
to be watched.
it's almost as if you're seeing a woman play professional basketball for the first time. Like, whoa, I thought this was like a Pegasus. They do exist. It's like that old Eminem commercial when Santa meets the M&Ms and he's like, oh, he does exist. They do exist. That would be the revelation. Everyone looking at WNBA players, and then WNBA players like, whoa, fans do exist. Look at this. And then
Full stadiums? What?
what is this? What? And then at the same time, you have that stupid in-season tournament happening, right? And so instead of paying players, they get paid $500,000 to win this
Yeah.
stupid tournament. I'm like, why? I thought these games counted. Why are you paying them more money? And so, like, why you have to pay them to show up for their jobs, which is probably why they had the 65 game minimum. So they, and so now you have the in-season tournament, and then the champion or the semifinals, and then the championship game coincide with NBA All-Star Weekend. If you're gonna have both of these ridiculous things, then just mesh them together, and then that way, there's really no way to fix it. There isn't, other than just stop playing basketball, which would probably be the best case scenario. Even the NFL's like, screw it. No one cares about this anyway. Let's just throw footballs through a tire and then have defensive backs kick field goals. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. But then do that with the NBA. Just get rid of the game altogether. Just get rid of the All-Star game. Just let the celebrities, hell, let the celebrities play with not the All-Stars, but the All-Pros. Let the All-Pros play against the celebrities, and then see what happens there. It'd still be 2-11-0, like it is in an All-Star game anyway.
They would be 2 feet taller than all the celebrities, which would be by itself amazing to watch them trying to score.
Every All-Pro player would go to the other side of the court, and then the celebrity would dunk, but you pan out, and it's just an NBA player holding them as they in the air as they pretend to dunk.
Yeah, as they lift the little kid. Yeah, I got one.
Come here, child.
See, the problem that I see with this, especially the way that NBA is doing it, is that they I understand the breaking up the season and the All-Star break being that like midpoint, even though it's like right after the midpoint. There's more games on the front end than the tail end, which makes no sense. But I understand that giving the players a break, but it's almost like you're probably losing some of the audience because you're barely getting momentum with the people watching it. And then you take this break when like for a week, like 10 days, nobody gives a damn about basketball. And then you have to re-engage all these people. Like, like I was keeping tabs on the All-Star break, and I honestly forgot and didn't even realize that the season was kicking off again today. Like, that is how much of a gap you just give people to, like, okay, now let me get back into this, like watching NBA games.
I'm in the same boat. I was like, man, I haven't seen any Pelicans games come up yet. I was like, wait, that stupid thing they do in the middle. And honestly, like a better idea would be to get rid of the in-season tournament and then to have, between like the week between, because NBA players need 5 days off because it's hard to run. And before the playoffs begin, have that weekend of just all-star competitions.
Yeah.
And then roll into the postseason. You want people to watch your little playground mid-season tournament shanties, then have it before everyone's watching the NBA. Have it right there before the playoffs begin. Because no one's watching NBA until March. So have it then. Have it then. I don't even know when the NBA season starts. I just know they're playing basketball right now.
Starts in October. It starts in October, but they even the NBA goes out of its way to like advertise that like it unofficially starts in December because that's when people start
Yeah.
caring. So that's like a third of the season that you just
Yeah.
cut out
Christmas is
right
when people
away.
start to care. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
apparently.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's what I'm waiting
it
for.
was it was such an interesting dynamic because I saw this comment that said, okay, so the NFL, which dominates the sports media from September all the way through February or to February, ended. And that
Mhm.
following week is All-Star break. And the
Yeah.
NBA has this genius idea and blame the players and the league.
Mhm.
Both of them have equal blame that the first thing when everybody has like this withdrawal from sports, that the first thing they're gonna watch is a crap game of all stars pretending like they
No.
want to care but they don't really care. That alone is just
Yeah.
setting up a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
no wonder the numbers behind how many people watch NBA games are just tank. They're crap at the. You can't even compare them to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing I'll say this: your comment about the NBA using like the merger with the WNBA. I will say the biggest thing that caught everyone's attention was a 3-point contest with Steph Curry against
Sue
Caitlin.
Bird, was it?
No,
Or
not Sue
what?
Bird.
Was
It's
it
I think it's
Caitlin
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 something. See
Clark?
that's
I don't know.
that.
I don't know who it is.
No, I don't
Whoever.
know,
I don't
but
know.
her. Anyways,
See,
but they
see, no
were
one knows.
cap
Her name is her.
exactly
This is how much
exactly
we know about the sport. Her name
with
is her. She's like some
and
secret drug dealer.
with all due respect to her, because she's actually a badass basketball player. She was
Yeah,
shooting
she can
three
do things I
points.
can't do, but I'm
She
not
was
forcing
shooting
people
three
to watch
points
it.
from the men's. She was shooting 3 points from the men's 3-point line, and she got just as many points to win the All NBA
Yeah,
players 3-point contest. So she's a
yeah,
badass. We just don't know
yeah.
her name because they don't get enough attention to it via a household name. But
It's
anyways,
something
that was the biggest
Ionescu.
thing that caught
Something
attention.
Ionescu. That's what it is.
Sabrina.
Sabrina Ionescu.
Sabrina.
That's who it is. Yeah.
There we
Yep.
go. See, we got
Hey,
there.
look,
We got there.
I know stuff. Look,
Shout
people
out
think
Sabrina. We know about you. We just need more attention.
I know
But
about you
anyway,
because of
so
the picture
like
I read
that
in the Athletic.
she like that got the most attention out of the weekend. So like what you're saying makes sense. Like bring both audiences together and kind of make a product that might be a little bit more appealing. The other thing, which is like circulating as like the extreme measure, is do the MLB approach. Like make the players have to care. If you're an all-star player, your team is most likely going to make the playoffs. So have a home field advantage be dictated by who wins the All-Star game. Bet you they don't put up 100 in the All-Star game if that happens.
Well, baseball got rid of that one, so that argument
Oh,
fails.
did they? I didn't even
They got
realize.
rid of
I
it.
didn't even
Yeah,
realize they did that too.
especially
They used to.
when when the American League wins the All Star game and the winner of the American League is the wild card, and then you got super duper Dodgers over here, and they got to start 2 games on the road. They're like, well, this isn't good.
I like that. I was not keeping tabs on the fact that they changed that, but I thought that was like a way to bring the appeal. But the MLB's kind of revamping their All-Star break. I think they're doing a good job at projecting it upward with like the changing of the formatting for the home runs and all this extra
Mhm.
stuff they do. I think it's cool. Like the
Yeah.
miking up of the players. So there is a way to fix All-Star game, and even like you said, even the NFL just gave
Yeah.
up and made it all skills and strength competition. Even that
Yeah.
is doing better than what the NBA is putting out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not the biggest NBA watcher as it is. I'll admit that. I
Yeah.
watch it because it's on. But if you're gonna, just as a fan of sports, if you're gonna put a product out there, make it watchable. Make it something where
Yeah.
people are gonna care about it, and don't put it. You know, to caveat to your point, don't put it in the middle of people's momentum of actually watching the dang thing.
Yeah.
Don't have this week off. Like, what do you need a week off for anyway? My goodness, that is
They
too
already
much time.
rest. They already rest when there's back-to-back games because God forbid they
I
run
know.
for 30 minutes total.
Which
in
is
2 days
why
span.
I'm so happy they did that 65 game minimum.
Yeah.
I'm happy
It's
they did it. And it
it's a
sucks
bummer.
for guys
I
like
see where it's
Joel
coming from.
Embiid. It sucks.
Yeah.
Because if you're actually hurt, this
Yeah.
isn't like guys who aren't hurt. This isn't like
Mhm.
LeBron. Oh, my ego's bruised. Let me sit down for a second. Let me sit down for a week of games. But it's just it's one of those things where if you're if you're going to go out there and you're going to you play a child's game. You play a child's game for literal children and for adults who can't escape their high school days to come watch you. Okay? They pay high dollar to come watch you play. And if your first inclination is, F it, I'm just going to sit this one out. I feel like I have a hairline fracture. Really? Yeah, I just have this ingrown hair in my ankle. Like, just go play the game. Jordan didn't sit out when he had food poisoning. My goodness, they still won that final. He came out. Like, have some. And I think I think the bigger point is very few of these NBA players have any pride in what they do. They are so consumed with how they look and how they come across. Because one, this has long been removed from being considered anywhere near close a team sport. So now it's just your star player, 4 scrubs, going on the court, and then you're feeding this dude the ball. Most of these players, they have no pride in what they're doing. They just want to be flashy and they want to look good on the TV. And when they feel like they're not going to look good, they feel like they need, I need a mental health day from the big orange ball. Then they're going to sit down and then go, okay, I'm mailing it in today. Good. It's good they have a 65-day limit. And I'm glad Adam Spineless Silver actually came out and said, hey, you know what? I back it. Good. I'm glad you back it because it makes sense. It makes sense. It sucks for guys like Embiid who are genuinely hurt and who go out there and they ball and they go out there for the sake of their team, their city, the fans, the org. But overall, there's no real way to fix this other than to implement it across the board.
See, the thing I have a problem with the Embiid argument, and I mean I agree it sucks because he was hurt, but at the same time I haven't sat back and looked at how many games he sat out at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling a lot of those games it was just body resting, and then once he started realizing, I'm having an MVP caliber season, I don't have that many games to rest, and then he started like having those injuries coming up. That is a problem. Like he took advantage of all those rest games, most likely, and then he was playing catch up, and then he forced his body to actually go past the break, which sucks. It does suck. But goes back to the 65. Like it makes sense on why the 65 game is there. Like don't sit out those games in the first place. Play the 80 the full season, and then you'll be able to actually take 10 games off whenever you're hurt.
Yeah, and you know what? Fair point to the beginning of the season because I didn't look to see how many games he was sitting out before he got injured. But now he's looking at it as like, well, dang, I probably should have not sat out just because. I probably should have played the game. I'm being paid multi-millions dollars worth to play. And that's another thing. Like, what? You get paid this much money and you're like, it's too hard to play today. What? Get out of here. I get paid pennies compared to you, and I don't get there and sit there and say, you know what? I'm just not going to come in today. What are you talking about? You're not going to come in today. No. Are you sick? No. Then come in. You can die at your desk. Like these guys. They
like all the rest of us.
I mean, like all the rest of us are dying at our blue collar jobs just so we can afford enough money just from the pittance that we get paid to go watch you maybe play. No, that's ridiculous. 65 games, I think is too low. I'm with Barkley. I think it should be 70 games. I think you play 82 games, 12 games a year is enough. That's enough. You can miss 12 games. That's a lot of games. And you take a lot of time off in between. You're not playing back-to-backs. You're playing like maybe 5 times a year. You're playing a game, you're taking a day off, you're playing another game. That's enough time.
Yeah. And the last point, and I want to shame LeBron for sitting out there after the game and saying, I'm concerned about the amount of effort that we're putting into this All-Star game. It's like not very good quality of basketball that we're putting out there for the fans. Okay, you can say that, but he was also part of the problem. He's a good defender. I didn't see him hustling. I didn't see him getting 5 blocks. I didn't see for the amount of effort that there's being put in that game. I bet you if he wanted to play, if he wanted to be the leading force behind putting out a better product, he could get probably 10 blocks and 10 steals in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So don't sit there playing the advocate for a good
Yeah.
game while you're also not choosing to be part of the solution.
He's just showboating. It's all virtue
He just
signaling on his part. He
yeah.
he could give two craps about the product of the game as long as that product is going to continue to pay him for the next 5 years, so we can play with his scrub sons and look like just some old decrepit dude out there. And I'm honestly, by the time his sons come to play, he's going to be playing HMBA game like it is the All-Star game. No effort.
Yeah.
He's just going to stand there. And he's going to
8
all right,
points.
I'm ready for the ball. Yeah.
Just to say that he played 30 seasons in the NBA.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of
We're gonna-
unwatchable, yeah, I was going to say, speaking of unwatchable, NFL offseason's here. And
Yeah.
so we got a lot of these teams that are rebuilding right now. And I'm actually the one team that I don't know if it's fair to call them a rebuild because they've sucked for 30 years, but the Bears.
there you go.
I'm sick and tired of these of all these NFL know-it-alls, these talking heads who just know sports. I'm
Analysts.
sick of, the analysts. Yeah, what are you analyzing? Yeah, other than the words coming out of your butt. I cannot stand these people just sitting there saying, the Bears need to draft Caleb Williams. No. And if I'm an NFL team, I'm banding together. I'm saying, all right, guys, listen, GMs, we're not going to draft a crybaby first overall pick. Let's not do that in the first round. Let's wait till the second round. Let's wait to see if he goes and cries to his mom because he didn't get what he wanted. I would love the Bears to trade that number one pick. And Ryan Poles came out and said they're open for business and that pick is available. I so very much would like the Bears to trade that number one pick to get as much as you possibly can to build around this cheap 1-year bridge quarterback you have. Build around him. Because I'll say this for Justin Fields. Did he look competent out there? No, he did not. But that dude played ball like the Bears were actually in some sort of a playoff hunt. The Bears were eliminated from this year's playoff hunt 5 years ago. They had nothing to play for. So I don't even know. I mean, but he was out there. He was balling. He was trying to show the best he could with what he could do, and he had nothing around him. He's got nothing around the dude. Build around him. I think George Kittle said this during his Super Bowl interview, the week before the game. He said, that's just wrong. Like, build around the dude. Give the dude some weapons. See what you can do with him. And Merrill Hodge, the only guy that I've ever respected as the talking head when it came to NFL football, even he came out not so much in defense of Justin Fields, but more in opposition to Caleb Williams, saying, why do you want that guy? That guy played mid-football all year round. And then when he doesn't get his way, he's crying to his mama. Like, he's literally going to his mom and he's just crying to her. Like, be a man. Where are your balls? Like, go out there, go play football. If you suck, then suck less next time. What are you doing? What are you doing? And the Bears are sitting there like, we gotta go get this guy. Now, if the Bears are saying that, we really want to get this guy because they're trying to drive up the price on the pick, good job. Good on you, Ryan Poles. And so far, what Ryan Poles has done, I don't really disagree with, but I'd like to see what they can do.
It's like,
it has been mid because, I mean, the Bears are always mid, and they haven't had a quarterback since Jim McMahon. So it'd be one thing to sit there and to draft Caleb Williams and Ryan Poles sit there and say, well, I saved my job for another year, maybe 2. But if he wants to actually improve this team, regardless of who the quarterback is, trade that pick. Trade it.
Mm-hmm.
Trade that pick. Keep talking up Caleb Williams like he's the left hand of God. Andrew Luck was the right. Caleb Williams is the left hand of God. Just keep building it up as if he's this big dude. But then do it only to drive up the price so you can get a king's ransom. You thought the Bears got a king's ransom last year for that first pick. Imagine what they'll get this year with every single quarterback being overhyped. And
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy going in the first 10 picks. Give me a break. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. That's crazy
No.
talk. No.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And the argument that is being consistently made is, well, the business move to make is to reset your quarterback's contract so you can rebuild around the quarterback at a cheap rookie contract. Okay, sure, you can make that argument if the Bears have succeeded at doing that for the last 20 years. How many times are they going to reset their quarterback market? At some point, you have to be loyal to a player and be appealing to a team or to other players, I should say. Like,
Yeah.
I understand having a low cap. They already have all this cap room this year. They don't have anybody besides DJ Moore. They don't have anybody on their roster. Any player that's wanted a contract, be like, you're done.
Yep.
Get out of here. We don't want to sign you. We're rebuilding, so it doesn't make sense for us to sign players to long deals or multi-year contracts.
Yeah.
When are you done rebuilding, and when are you actually reconstructing? Like, they just like put 2 bricks up and then they go, bleep, we're rebuilding. Two bricks up again and then rebuild
Yep.
again. Like, when does this end? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, stick to Justin Fields. You've seen that he can do somewhat of a good, like, he's not he's not a bust. He has skills. He has carried the team into some wins that they should not have been in. They have his stats aren't awful. Put good people around him. And I was told that we blame a lot on coaches, but I feel like this one falls on that. The GM, the owner, put some good damn staff in your freaking office.
Yeah.
Quit blaming the players for the reason that you suck, and just look in the mirror and say, okay, maybe it's actually our GM, or maybe it's our coach. We're gonna stick to our players that we know have skills. We'll sign them. We'll sign them to 5-6 years, and the coach, you're done if you don't make a good out of them. We know what we have. But it just drives me nuts. It is driving me nuts that is the one argument. Yeah, I get the Caleb Williams is a generational talent. Cry me a new one with that one. I don't buy that for a second. I think that is a system.
You know who else
thing,
was generational? Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was also generational.
The last, probably 4 out of the last 6 first round draft pick quarterbacks have been generational talents. Like,
Jameis Winston was generational. Jamarcus Russell was generational. Baker Mayfield was generational. Like,
Trevor
get out of
Lawrence,
here with
I'm
the
not even sold on that guy yet. Yeah, exactly. Why do you and I as fans, how are we able to see that Caleb Williams is more than likely a system quarterback because of Lincoln Riley? Look at the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has made into really good quarterbacks. It's the coach that is making them. It's not the players. And the players have taken a major step back once they actually go to the NFL. It is not this hidden secret. It's like not a secret. You can look at it. You can see the fact that it's not the player being this immaculate conception of a freaking player.
Nope.
It's just blowing my mind.
To go to your point about the coaching, Justin Fields has had, 3 coordinators in the 4 years he's been there? How do you expect any quarterback to succeed if every single year you're like, hey, learn this new scheme? Really? I've never played NFL football before, and now you want me to come in? It's not like I'm Peyton Manning. Like, they treat these guys as if every single quarterback, every single first-round quarterback is supposed to be Peyton Manning. And then when you switch up the coaching and then you swap the scheme out for something else every single year, what do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah.
And I'm a huge proponent of any rookie quarterback. I don't care how good he is. Sit him for a whole year. Sit him for a whole year. Don't even count this year as a year where you're going to get anything. Count your blessings if your bridge quarterback can get you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But just let the dude sit. And the Bears are lying to themselves. They are delusional to themselves, thinking that, oh, well, we made it to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. Come on. And then you're going to sit there and then you're going to lie to the fans and be like, well, we need a better quarterback. Well, which one is it? Do you need a Rex Grossman or do you need a better quarterback? But before you get there, you need to address the coaching. That needs to stay consistent and legit. I'm not talking about the head coach. And I'm talking about the offensive coordinator. I'm talking about the guys that actually work with the quarterback. And oh, by the by, the guy that was working with Justin Fields is now the quarterback coach for the Saints. So they got rid of that guy. Like, just build the squad, build the team. If you're going to hang your hat on the fact that Rex Grossman got you to the Super Bowl 18 years ago, Justin Fields is head and shoulders better than Rex Grossman is. But what Grossman had, Justin Fields has never had in the 4 years he's been there, which is a team. He's had no one around him. He doesn't have a consistent coaching staff. He doesn't. You need to have consistency on the field, and you need to have consistency on the play caller side. If you want to set these guys up for success, that needs to happen. If you're not going to let them learn, if you're not going to let him sit for a year, which he so wholeheartedly should, then build something around him that can be sustainable. And if the head coach isn't cutting it, clear the deck. Clear the deck.
Yeah.
Clear it.
That's the other point that's driving me crazy with the Bears, specifically with the Bears, because they want to reset the market, or they want to restart again for the 20th billionth time. They want to start rebuilding again, but then they have a head coach that they saw for 2 years now, and they're like, we're not too sure about him, but we're not going to extend him to give Justin Fields some sort of stability, but we're also not going to fire him to fully rebuild. Everything about them is just saying, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just going to remain in this status of limbo and just keep trading away picks, getting players, trading away those players for more picks. And it's just this cycle of just mediocrity that just doesn't make any sense for what, an organization. And you can look at it at a corporate level. You can look at it in the government sector. Everywhere you have to have a clear vision of where you're headed. And that's the biggest problem that is coming out of that organization. There's no path. There's no path. They're just trying to plug and play. They're plugging holes as they come up, and they're like, well, we'll figure it out next year. Well, let's check this hole out. Let me plug this hole and see how this works. Now let me plug this hole. It didn't work. Let me plug it. There's a limbo and no clear vision where they want to get.
No.
I'm not hyping the Cowboys. I'm not, by no means am I going to sit here and hype up the Cowboys right now.
No one brought them up, but you did. I never said anything about the Cowboys.
I keep tabs on them, and for a while their line was trash. And for 3-4 years, they took the best linemen in the first round, and everybody was saying they're wasting their picks when they could be getting skill players. And then what do they have in the last 3 to 4 years? They've had the top offensive line in the league, but they stuck to that vision, and they hit their goal. It hasn't produced, but they hit their goal. I'm not saying do that, but have a vision and go towards that vision, no matter what the hell comes out of the draft, no matter what.
Hey, I'm on board for the Cowboys if they want to go back to the days of Darren McFadden and Zeke. I'm on board for all that. If they want to go back after the best skill position player, hey, that's fine with me. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Cowboys are only watchable because of how they're going to flub up whatever victory they have in their hands. But when it comes to rebuilds, I'm almost I don't even know what a rebuild is anymore. I don't know what a rebuild is anymore. The Cowboys in the late 80s, when Jimmy Johnson took over, that was a rebuild. They traded those picks, they traded their players for more picks, and they built around it. They built around it, and what happened? They were a dynasty.
But they kept their players after that.
They did. But the problem is now is I don't even know what a rebuild is. I've got no clue. Because anytime you need a new quarterback, we're going for a rebuild. Why? You can still instead of mortgaging your future for an unknown, go after the players can build a team. If every single analyst out there is like, you build a winner through the trenches, then why is the first thing they say, well, they got to go get that quarterback? Which one is it? Which one are you trying to lean people toward? You either want to build the lines on both sides of the ball, which you should, which is the reason why Brock Purdy is even a household name, because those both sides of that trench is so tight and so explosive and so talented because they built it. They built from the inside out. You don't build from the one guy and then say, all right, good luck. No, you build from the inside. That's the reason Brock Purdy's a household name. Dak Prescott's a household name. I disagree with you with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to do something. I think he's going to be there as long as they
Nah.
stop hiring clown coaches. But
Well, I said I'm not completely sold on him. Just be clear. I said I'm not completely
yeah.
sold on him.
But if you look at like the only person that this is applied to where it's the inverse is Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs
Yeah.
drafted Mahomes, they had no defense. Mahomes kept doing his thing. They built the defense. Great. It works. But no one else is Patrick Mahomes. No one else is. Even if Caleb Williams is the left hand of God, Patrick Williams is God's head. Okay? It's not no one else is him. No one else is Mahomes. So if you're going to go after a quarterback, and if you have to lean on analysts to sit there and say this guy's the next whoever, well, then you're not doing your job right. Your job is to build a team and hold yourself accountable to both the bad and the good decisions that you make for that team. You have to choose a lane. And if I'm Ryan Poles, and I believe in Ryan Poles, I honestly believe in his ability to bring the Bears out of mediocrity. And it's not going to take much. 7 games is out of mediocrity. It's not going to take much. But all he has to do is make a decision. And hopefully he's made it already that he wants to trade this pick, and he's going around this route to try to jack up the price for it, which would be fantastic. Go after building your squad from O to D line and then out. Build it from the in out. That's how you build a squad. Trent Dilfer does not win the Super Bowl if the Ravens are not magnificent on both sides of the ball. You think Trent Dilfer was generational? No, absolutely not. He wasn't generational. No, but he knew that he could do with what he had because he was protected on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And if a rebuilding team, whatever that means now in the NFL, I don't even know. But if a rebuilding team is going to do that, they need to start from the end. You need to. And if anyone needs to start from the end, it's the effing Bears. They need to start building somewhere. Build somewhere. You took Carolina's best player post McCaffrey. You have him on the squad. That's it. Build from within. And if they're smart, they will get so many picks. So many. And hell, if you want a quarterback, go get J.J. McCarthy at pick number 9. Go get Jaden Daniels at pick number 9. Go get him. He's right there. He's right there. You don't have to mortgage your future for it. All you've done is replenish your resources, have Jaden Daniels sit behind Justin for a year, evaluate if Justin's the dude. If he's not the dude, hey, Jaden or JJ sat on the bench for a whole year. You have them for 4 more years. Give them the ball. See what happens. Yep. And you can do that. You can afford that luxury because you have already start building.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, have that, like you're mentioning the building from the inside out. Like, yes, that makes sense. And build everything else so that when the time comes and you're like, we're missing the one piece, the quarterback, the important piece, we're missing it, and then we're killing it. I don't buy that Caleb Williams is this generational quarterback, but every 3 to 4 years, there's been another generational quarterback. It takes you 3 to 4 years to rebuild your team. You will find another Caleb Williams generational quarterback. Build everything else and then go get that guy.
Yeah.
And then take all those picks that you traded and get that guy.
Look at what Denver did. They built the team and they're like, all right, well, let's go get Peyton. The end. Like I'm sure Kirk Cousins is going to play till he's 53. Okay? If you get to the point where you don't have a high enough pick, Kirk Cousins is out there. He'll come play for you. He'll be a mercenary. And it's so simple, but these organizations, they no longer want to be accountable to their decisions because they're too afraid of the owner getting rid of them. Except Jerry Jones, because he accounts to nobody. I don't even think he answers to God. But like if Ryan Poles is who I think he is, he can go ahead and he can start. And if any other GM who's like rebuilding, start taking accountability for your decisions. And not just accountability, buy into what you're doing. If you can't buy into what you're doing, how on earth are you going to sell it to the one man signing your paychecks?
Yep.
Buy into what you're doing. Buy into it. I hate Moneyball. I hate that whole concept. But Billy Bean sold the ownership on it. I mean, partly because he had to, because, I mean, they were, they couldn't even, barely pay for the paychecks. But, like, at least buy into something. Buy into it. Buy into an ideal of how you'd like to build the team. Put your fingerprint on it. And then let it be yours. If it fails, okay, you did everything you believed you should have done. You can walk out with your head held high, as opposed to sitting there thinking, oh no, is he watching me? Oh, does he like it? Dad, is this good? Is this good, Dad? Do you like this pick I made? Like, stop being the scared child. Just be a grown man and take some responsibility for your own choices. My goodness. This is why the NFL is so mid. And it's been building up to this. And it was so mid this year because of that. Because you got all these guys running the organization. They're too scared to do anything that has any real effect on how they want the product to look like.
Yeah.
Be a man.
Yep. And at the same time, the alternative argument would be that if I was Caleb Williams, I would be pissed. I would be pissed. I understand that you get the first overall pick or the top picks because you suck. But if I was Caleb Williams and they're saying you're going to draft me because of the business decision, first off, it shows that you're not committed to the player. You just want a cheap quarterback that you can get by. You're going to waste 5 years on this guy that's supposed to be generational. I would be so mad if I was in that position because I don't want my talents to be wasted on a trash team. Like, let me have a chance to be a competitive. If I am as good as I believe that I am, I want a say in where the hell my next 5 years of my career are going to go. Because most players in the NFL don't get 20-year careers.
No.
The average is like 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
The first round 5-year contract is saving most of those players, but you're going to waste more than your average career on a team that's rebuilding and doesn't know where they're going. If there was this rumor of him like, oh, well, if I don't like where I'm going, I'm just going to go back to college. Like, I would 100% support that decision when the vision behind that team is like that. Like, it's not fair to the player. It is not fair to the player for you to have that mentality and just say, we're just going to waste your talent because we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Well, and most importantly, well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it just brings up the point on how it just that mentality has me thinking about how many teams actually have more to do with players' failures. Like, how many teams actually have been failing the players instead of the players just not being good enough. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, to build on that is, like, it's not fair to the player. It's not fair to the fans. We just talked about the NBA and how they have, they have a limitless ability to F it up at every single corner. Like, you have these NFL teams, you have these guys run the organization, and you think, oh, well, we draft Caleb Williams, the fan base will be happy. The fans aren't stupid. No. I'm not even a fan of the Bears. I could give two craps about the Bears. And I'm sitting here and I'm fighting. Well, I'm shouting. But I'm pleading for Ryan Poles and the Bears organization to do something right for the fans. Not only just for your team and not for yourself, but also for the fan base.
Yeah.
They're too busy worried about the owner, like I said. And, like, if you're not bought into what you're trying to do, how are you going to sell it to the people who are paying oodles of money from the pittance that they make to come watch your team suck? How are you going to explain that to them? If you're going to suck for a year and say, hey, we're going to suck this year, but next year we're going to suck less, and we're going to suck less every ensuing year until we get to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. That's okay. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Not every franchise is going to be making the playoffs every single year. Okay. We're not the Steelers. Not every fan base is as blessed to be a Steeler fan who you haven't missed the playoffs in 30 years? I guess. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But you're going to suck. It's going to happen. It will happen. Yeah. It's inevitable. Be honest. Buy into what you're doing. Tell the guy who's signing your checks, hey, this is what we're doing. I believe in it. Make him believe it. And then sell it to the fans. And then build a team. Build a watchable product. It can't be that difficult. It just can't be. It can't be. But I think it's only as difficult as it's going to be as the guy who is in charge of building the squad, who's not sold into how he wants to build it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And the loyalty thing goes so far. Like, fans are massively loyal. Most fans, unless you're a bandwagon fan that's semi-committed, you stick to a team because of the loyalty behind it. And fans appreciate when teams have that same loyalty for the team, for what they're building around themselves. So if you say we're gonna suck, but hey, we're building towards something, we're gonna be loyal to this, guys. If we're losing millions of dollars for these years, we know what we're building towards. Fans will love that. They will buy into that. Like you said, they at least they'll have a reality behind it, but they will also know that our team is loyal, and we're gonna be loyal back to that organization. It's such a weird dynamic that it seems like the money is blinding most of these owners and most of these like high level like decision makers. It's just everybody else in the world sees it, but the people that are responsible for it can't figure it out. They can't
figure it out, or they're just too scared. They're just too afraid to actually go about it. And honestly, so I'm going to the Saints now. I've been a Saints fan nearly my entire life. And they just hired a whole new offensive staff. Great. I could not be happier that they did it. Because I'm looking back over the last 3 years, ever since Drew left, and we've produced nothing. And it's becoming increasingly clear to me that the offensive staff we had in place for all those years was only as efficient because you had a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. You can't have a future Hall of Famer, keep the same guys, and be like, all right, Jameis, all right, Andy Dalton, all right, Taysom Hill, why don't you come in here and why don't you come
do the same thing?
Keep this thing going. That is not going to happen. It's unrealistic. And when it doesn't happen that first year, they should have fired the guys. They should have fired everybody, hired the new staff when they signed Derek Carr. If they knew Derek Carr doesn't know how to read playbooks that are different year to year. Okay, great. But now that they hired the new staff, I have every faith in Derek Carr's ability to flub it up on the field. Every faith. But at least now, if they keep this and they build from it, I can sit there and say, okay, maybe I won't expect as much this year. But I'm okay with it because they're trying to change. They are changing. They changed the personnel in the organization, which was long overdue. Long overdue. There's a problem when your head coach of 15 years leaves, and then his offensive coordinator 15 years leaves, and then 6 seconds later, that head coach hires the offensive coordinator. That's a problem there. That tells you that neither one of them can coexist without one another. So now you've done this. Now I want to see it on the field. I want to see you guys clear the field. I want to see you guys make some hard decisions. Get rid of some guys. Get rid of anybody not named Cam Jordan. Okay? Get rid of everybody. And then
that's about the only building piece.
Start over. Start over. Just start over. You're not getting out of that albatross of a contract that Derek Carr has. Just start over everywhere else. Just start over. Just keep the offensive line. Keep building there because that's good. Keep the defensive line. That is good. Keep it there. But if you gotta start over everywhere else, okay, great. Get rid of Lattimore. Hell, I'm not even opposed to you getting rid of Kamara. Okay? I'm not opposed to it. That dude's become increasingly more of a distraction than he is actually helpful on the field.
Olave? You want to keep Olave?
I mean, keep Olave. Yeah, keep him.
You just said Jordan was the only one you could keep.
Oh, I mean, I can change my mind. Okay, I just did. All right? I'm an analyst. Okay, I'm always right.
Oh yeah.
And so
you're a professional.
I'm a professional because I talk about it, so I'm always right. So I just don't get paid anything to do it. And then get rid of Mike Thomas. Just start over. Start
Yeah.
over. I don't care what the name on the jersey is. If it helps the team move forward and rebuild and become better, then start over. Do it.
Mhm.
And that's what
At the
every
same
single NFL team who's rebuilding needs to do.
Yeah. At the same time, can we sit here and discuss let's I want to talk about how many teams have actually failed such players because I feel like there's tons of examples and some of the ones that I can think of coincidentally have come from a single organization.
Yeah.
The likings of Barry Sanders being failed
Yeah.
by the Lions
Mhm.
is a great example of that.
Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford,
Calvin
hoping
Johnson,
it
Matthew
failed.
Stafford, exact. That's where I was going. Can you think of anybody like what other players have been failed by the organization where they actually were supposed to be successful, but the team just didn't do what they was supposed to on their side? Because Barry Sanders was by far like the most resonating example that I can think of.
Yeah.
He was killing it. He made the
Yeah.
Lions relevant no matter the record being 1, 2, 3, or 5 wins. Like they were relevant just because of the name that he was.
Yeah.
But they could never do anything with it. And Calvin Johnson was the same thing. Can you think of anybody
Yeah.
else that was more disappointed by the team?
I could say for the Niners, Alex Smith was because they
Okay.
never bought into just how special of a quarterback he actually was, and because it seemed like both the Redskins and the Niners, not the Skins. Who was Alex Smith with before? Oh, he was with the Chiefs. It seems like the
Yeah.
Chiefs and the Niners treated Alex Smith like he was just bridge quarterback. The dude was a dude. The dude can win you some football games in a very real way. He was a talented quarterback. But they treated him as like, well, we'll have you here until we have our sights on the guy that's going to come in behind you. I'll even go back to the Saints. Drew Brees. They screwed Drew Brees out of at least one other Super Bowl title, and not the one where the refs screwed it.
The Rams.
But I'm talking about the one with the Minneapolis Miracle, where Stephon Diggs goes up, and then the cornerback's like, "What's tackling again?" If you cannot be so, okay, we're gonna go back to the beginning of this conversation that I mentioned at the top. If you're gonna be so focused on your quarterback, you can be so focused on having a star quarterback, you best be ready to make some hard decisions on putting on the other 21 guys on the field, making sure that each and every one of them understands the assignment. If you want to star a future Hall of Fame quarterback like Breeze is you're going to have him on your squad, you better make sure no one else on that team is flashy. As much as Bill Belichick ruined the Patriots, I will always appreciate the fact he did not have flashy players on his team. They were bought in on the assignment. They were sold on it. They knew that their mission, their purpose on that gridiron was not to get the highlight. Their purpose and mission was to bring home the W. If you have any sense at all that you have a player who is trying to be flashy, get rid of that guy. He doesn't belong there. Let him go play for Cleveland. You don't need this guy flubbing up the best years, the prime years of your future Hall of Fame quarterback's career. You don't need it. You should not want it.
You brought up the Patriots, and that kind of brought up another name that I think goes under the radar because he kind of moved a little bit towards the end of his career. But Randy Moss was another one of those guys whose career was just completely honestly, for some reason, I had forgotten that Randy Moss never got a Super Bowl ring, and it's just mind blowing to me because he was such a dominant player. The Vikings, was it the Vikings? Did he start with the Vikings? He did start
the
with
Vikings. Yep.
The Vikings were
with Chris Carter and Jake Reed. They were all there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
AP was there when he was there.
It's
Dante.
It's just
like
it's just and then he went to the Patriots thinking that the Patriots brought him in. It's not like he decided to just go in there. But he went to the team that was supposed to be stacked, and again, his skills were just completely wasted by organizations and like the failure of. But that I'll caveat the Patriots because I think that was the first year that the Giants upset them in the Super Bowl to steal that Super Bowl championship away from them.
I think that
so
was the
I'll
year.
give that a
Yeah, I think that was the year they got Plaxico. They got a man named Plaxico catching footballs in the end zone.
yeah. Yeah, so that's a caveat, but some of like his talents was definitely deserving of a Super Bowl. You mentioned Adrian Peterson. That was another good one. That was a really good example of that. But kind of transitioning to the MLB because I'm kind of getting too pissed off talking about the NFL and their uselessness when it comes to figuring out
It's
how to
funny you
run
never
things.
mentioned Donovan McNabb, but I'll brush over that.
Do you? Donovan McNabb was not some stellar guy that was like
saying that he played for a in a division with the so-called other team. Yeah, I'm gonna breeze over.
No,
that.
I want to hear your argument on that because I don't think Donovan McNabb was at that level where he's like, crap, the team really.
I don't actually have one. I just wanted
okay.
to see you get just get your blood level. A little
don't
bit
talk to me. Don't tell me any Eagles players have been screwed over. All right, that's not one thing that I will ever take your side on.
Andy Reid's career. No. Donovan was Mahomes before Mahomes was. Boom.
Wow. Yeah. Don't even go there. There's not. You probably disrespected about 15 years worth of players by making that comment.
It was fun saying it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't fun hearing it. It was actually a little bit of a pain to my ears. But I'm going to pretend like you didn't just disrespect Mahomes, the NFL, and try giving names to the Eagles or anything that they deserve. And transition back to the MLB because the one name that stands out to me in the Major League Baseball Association. What is the Major League Baseball? I don't know. Anyways, is Mike Trout. I'm just saying, like it's Major League Baseball, like something's missing out of MLB, like league, whatever.
It's not the NFL Association.
It's league, National Football League,
Major League Baseball.
Not too sold on that name. Change the name. Add another letter. Anyways,
Michael Scott. I got a bunch of names for this.
I want to talk about Mike Trout because he's the one player in the MLB side that left and right, regardless of loyalty, has been kind of just getting burned for no damn reason.
Yeah.
Shame on the Angels for wasting talent. And
shame on you for not realizing that he was playing for the Angels.
I realize it. That's why I'm calling them out. I realize that who he's playing for. That is why I'm saying shame on them. It's just he's been there. How long has he been there? 12 years now?
12 years, I think. He's 31. So he started when he was 19. Yeah. 12 years.
That's not even stepping foot into a wild card. That is like the epitome of a team.
He did.
Just like
he did. They just didn't win.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, they just never won a playoff game.
Regardless, they haven't done crap with him. Okay,
don't
they
take
haven't
that
done
away
crap
from
with him. Wow.
No, what's funny, and I know where you're coming from with this. Those comments that he made about asking for a trade would be the easy way out. And I read somewhere that they said all they could hear was staying here would be the hard decision to make. And so, like, and honestly, like both can be true at the same time, I guess. It is the easy way out. And Mike Trout is a classic ball player. He's an old school guy. He wants to retire with the same team that drafted him, that he's played for his entire career. I respect the crap out of it. I do. I wish there was more of that loyalty within sports as a whole. With that, Mike Trout he screwed himself when he signed that 12-year, $430 million contract with the Angels. It's not as if he didn't have 8 years of prior knowledge as to what was going to happen
That's
with
true.
this team, of what
That is
happened
true.
with this team. If he wanted to get out, he would have gotten out when he could have. And so I respect the man for not. I respect the man for wanting to stay, but I don't think it's a problem for him to sit there and say, "Yeah, this team has underperformed. Ownership has given us nothing to help us try to win." But
Yeah.
then if you say that, it's like, well, you had Shohei. I think the Angels are one of those teams, and harken back to when the Angels won the World Series. You had guys like Jim.
Was I even born yet?
No, you weren't. You were not born. This was in year 2002.
I was barely conscious in the sports world. I was 7.
I was 16. So, so oh my God, we were that miss an age gap there. So they're in that year, they had guys like Jim Edmonds and Torrey Hunter, John Lackey, who was that pitcher that converted? I can't remember his name right now. And then you had I believe Troy Gloss was the shortstop. I think Benji Molina was the catcher then. But the hero of the whole series was a little guy named David Eckstein. David Eckstein was a tiny little shortstop before shortstops were supposed to now hit 30 homers a year. David Eckstein barely got 30 hits a year. Okay. So this guy, he was the hero of the entire series. And I look back on that 2002 team and I look to now, and the difference was they didn't give big money contracts to any of these players. And I don't know if Artie Moreno was the owner then. I don't know if he was. I want to say he was. I want to say he took over in the early 2000s. I want to say he was the owner then. But they had these players, but they were a team. And so now you get a team full of big money contracts. You get Trout. You get Shohei. And then we come to Anthony Rendon. There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball. This dude who says the season is too long for the last 4 years combined. He has played an average of 50 games. He hasn't even played a half a season. What the hell is he talking about? The season is too long. He's on his couch eating cheese puffs, watching his team that's paying him oodles of money not to play, by the way, not do anything and not go anywhere, and he's complaining. Now, I get it. You can sit there and say, oh, he was talking about faith. He was talking about family. And the job is just a thing that he does. Yeah, I get that. I understand saying that when you show up for your job every day, not when you mail it in. If you're mailing it in, you don't get to say anything about how long the season is. If you're hurt by choice or whatever, and if you're going to be rude to fans because they're pissed off that they paid all this money to a crappy player, that's on you, bud. That's all on you for being crappy. Long gone are the days where Rod Carew, who coincidentally with the Angels, signed a big money deal with the Angels. Back then, I think it was like $1. He signed a big money deal with them in the 70s or 80s. He was so below his expectation as a hitter, he asked the organization to reduce his contract. If Anthony Rendon had any sense of pride, any sense of integrity when it came to playing the game that provides the life that his family has because of, he would go to the Angels. Yeah, it's a pretty nice one. Yeah, it's really easy to thank God when you make your oodles of money. It's he could go to the Angels right now and say, "Hey, I suck. I'm really not good at this baseball thing like I used to be. I can't stay in the field. I can't stay healthy. Why don't you take some of that money and throw it at other players? Is he doing that? No. He's just biting the hand that feeds him. And that's what tells me none of what he said was genuine. He's just a crybaby. He is a crybaby. In the words of my father, he's a crybaby furu. Okay? That is all he is. That's all he's doing is just whining. About what? Having all your time off already? What are you complaining about? You're not going to play this season anyway. You're going to play 50 games. You'll be like, oh no, I got a bad hair day. I got to sit out the rest of the year. Don't give me this bull crap about the season being too long when you don't even play the whole season. You don't even play half the season. Get out of here with that garbage. Oh man,
Now, is he the guy that is he the guy that said that? I'm guessing you didn't like that he came out and said that baseball wasn't his priority in life, even though that's what he's making.
And he said the season
dollars.
was too long. That's my problem. If he said baseball was my priority and stopped at that, that's fine. But to say the season's too long, when the 4 seasons combined, you barely played a whole season. Shut up! Get out of here with that. You sound like a fool. You sound like a dang fool talking about how long a season is. You don't even play half the games. Get out of here with that garbage. Oh, man. And then you got Mike Trout saying, nah, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep powering through. I want to make the Angels a winner. I mean, think about it. You got from the same team, you got this juxtaposition. You got a selfless guy and a selfish guy. Think about that. Every team's got it, but just think about that. Think about it. It's nonsense. It's a bunch of malarkey.
I can't bash him too much for his comments, besides the fact that he hasn't played an entire season. Like I personally do think the season is too long. We just like the NBA, we stop. We don't. I disagree with you. I personally, and I've told you this. I've told you this personally many times. I don't really follow baseball until the All-Star game, until July hits, July 4th ish. That's when I start keeping tabs on what's going on, because it doesn't matter. A baseball team can go in and have a 10, 15 game losing streak before July, and they could win the World Series. Like, it doesn't matter that much. The season.
It's true. It's true.
It's just, you can say that it's true, but I don't think you actually believe that it's true.
Oh, I believe it. And I have a prime example for it, but keep getting to continue.
It just makes no sense to me. I understand the business aspect of things. Like, baseball has a dwindling market, and they're doing their best. I won't take it away from baseball. And I understand how you feel about the progressions that baseball has made or the changes that baseball has made. But they're making the effort to bring in a new audience, but they just don't sell out stadiums every game. They're going for the quality over the quantity, or the quantity over the quality of the baseball. So that's why they're never going to change the long ass season that covers 6 months out of the year. It's fine. But I do understand where he's coming from. Like, it is too long. They're constantly run. I don't even understand. That is the one side of the argument that you can wrap it all the way around to the beginning of this section, where we were talking about players sitting out for games. I 100% agree why baseball players will sit out. I have tried keeping tabs on the baseball season from beginning to end. These guys are playing in freaking New York on a Monday, and they're playing in freaking California on a Wednesday. That is insane to me. I personally need a day and a half. I need like a day and a half to recover from that much travel. These guys
are, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, go stick to the NBA. My goodness, they play 2 games a week. Oh, my word. Oh, man.
You can't sit there and tell me, like, when you travel like that one day, that we get a travel day. We all get a travel day. It's okay. We decompress. And then that next day, you're kind of just like still getting used to like the alarms are like in the place where they shouldn't be. If you're like there for work, it's kind of just not hitting right. So like that first day that you're there, it just doesn't sit completely right. Those guys are already on the field 5 innings in. God forbid there's a rain delay midway through the damn game, and then they play a damn doubleheader the next day because they need to put in the 162 games. Just call it a wash. Call those games a wash. Like it is just
these are real athletes on the field, Manny.
that. I will give you. I will give you 3 players from across every sport has come out and said baseball is the hardest sport to play. But I don't know that they're more of an athlete than most other players. They stand around. A baseball game goes for 2.5 hours. Most of those players probably run a quarter of a mile in those 2.5 hours, and they swing the bat 3 times on average. And
smarter, not harder.
They run 20 yards when they're playing defense. I am not buying it. I am not going to sit here. And so that feeds into my argument. Like, they're not even playing that much. Cut the games and make it more important. Have those 20 yards matter more than freaking a 15-game losing streak when you're like, we'll recover and we're still going to win. Can you think about the fact that if you lose even 20 games and then you're like average for the rest of the season, if you lose 20 games like in a row, a la the A's, and then you average for the rest of the season, you can very likely still break 100 games as far as winning. Like, that just is mind-blowing to me.
Okay, first of all right, I'm not even going to blast holes in the argument because you already presented Swiss cheese to me. If I blasted holes in it, there'll be nothing left. Okay, first of all, the A's haven't won. They haven't had a 2-game winning streak in 5 years. Okay, that's point number one. Okay, so
that's my point.
Don't compare 29 other teams to the Oakland Athletics. They don't even. They are literally homeless. Okay, don't compare a band of vagrants to the rest of the teams that are trying out there. Okay, and I'm even including the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here's the other thing. Okay, and I can buy into your argument. I can buy into your argument that the season is too long. If it wasn't such a shoddy argument, okay? Here's my retort to this, okay? You brought up the NBA, so I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to regurgitate this godforsaken sport to you. The NBA plays at almost the same amount of time span, 8 months, as MLB does.
That is true.
They play exactly.
I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Half of the games. They play half of the games MLB does. And NBA players are like, it's too long. It's too hard on my knees. I can't run 40 yards at a time. It's hard.
But you can't sit there and say they're not more.
You had your chance to deliver Swiss cheese, sir. Okay?
They play more. They run
all right?
constantly. There's nonstop play in the NBA.
Here's some pepper jack for you, son. Now listen, I have no problem with anyone saying this season is too long in MLB. I've got no problem with it. If Mookie Betts said it, if Mookie Betts said it, okay. If Freddie Freeman said it, okay. If Dansby Swanson said it, okay. Even if Cal freaking Ripken said it, fine. But show me that you can be on the field. You can't not be on the field and say the season's too long. You can't sit there and say the reason you've only averaged 50 games a year the last 4 seasons is because the season is too long. Get out of here. That's my problem with it. That's my issue. My issue is not that someone said the season was too long. It's that someone who doesn't even play a half a season said the season was too long. He may as well play for the NBA and complain he was 15 games short of winning MVP. He may as well be doing that. I got no problem with anyone else saying it, but when it comes from the mouth of just this, just a mean ball player, then yeah, who doesn't stay on the field? Absolutely, I got a problem with the spirit of what he said. He could have stopped at, it's not my priority. Great, I already knew that. You don't play more than 50 games a year. I knew it's not a priority for you. I already guessed that. But to sit there and say it's too long, that's just ludicrous. That is ludicrous.
So are you going to actually sit there and accept that the season is too long? That is something I want you to say. because I don't think you actually believe it. I think you want more games or have no problem with there being 162 games in the season. That's the part that I'm a little concerned about. JB,
I
speak it
won't
to our
say that.
audience.
I
Speak it.
won't.
You just said.
Stop
You
treating
just
me like an
said.
election denier. I'm not going to sit here and say that the season's too long because as a fan, I follow the game 365. I wish there were more days in a year so I could follow it longer. The moment the World Series ends, I'm like, sweet, let's get to the deadlines of qualifying offers. Let's get to the deadlines of, the of trying to figure out which rookies have an extra year of eligibility because they didn't play enough.
Yeah,
I won't. I won't.
I'm not
Am
sold
I
on it.
wrong in that?
Yeah,
Maybe. I might
yeah,
be wrong in it.
I think you
I
are.
might be. I don't know. But I can sit there and say, as a fan of the game, no, I don't think it's too long. I don't. I think it's because I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate baseball is the most blue collar sport there is. Baseball is the one sport that still exists where dudes show up every day and they play. You don't need a week off. You don't need 2 days off because the flight was too long, because the sushi on the bus was, just slightly, overcooked NBA players. We don't need all that. They have it built into where they have the players platoon to give them time off. I appreciate the blue collar spirit of the sport. I appreciate what the sport teaches young people about how life is,
Not
about
fair
how to
because you
be.
play 6 months out of the year.
Life isn't fair. Fair shouldn't even be a word. Fair shouldn't even be a word that we should have. I wish I could eradicate that word from our existence. Okay? It shouldn't even be a word. Life's not fair. You have to learn to be patient. I've only been a fan of the 30 years of the game, so I haven't learned how to be patient yet. I need more games to figure out how to learn how to be patient with people.
At this ratio,
This
you're
is
going to
it,
take 162 games to learn how to be patient.
and that's okay.
162 years.
I'm living till I'm 114. Let's just pray by the year 2100, I would have learned how to be patient, because if I haven't, or if I have, you best believe I've been watching baseball and following it and tracking it all year round. All year round. And if any major league player wants to say the season is too long, like I said, got no problem with it. Just make an effort to play the freaking game. Make an effort to show up. Stop getting hurt. Who's made of glass that much? Who's getting hurt that much? They can't show up for a game. You can't DH. You're that hurt. You can't even designate hit. You don't have to go to the field. You just have to swing a bat. And you're that hurt. You can't stand there and swing a stick. Get out of here. Yeah, without that.
Pinch hitter.
All you haters,
Pinch hitter
get
until
out of
you're
here.
what? No, don't no.
Pinch.
I'm not gonna sit here. I'm gonna let you disrespect baseball fans at the mediocre level of fanatism. All right, we don't like to have to keep tabs on 162 games to figure out who the hell is actually good. The beauty behind the NFL is 16 games or 17 games, and every game matters. You lose 2 games, you're done.
Every game matters
Like I
in
said,
MLB. You can't go on
now
a losing streak in April and May and then expect to recover that. That's extremely
most teams
difficult.
do. Most teams
The
do.
Nationals did it. The Nationals did it. And I'm ashamed to admit Rendon was on that team. The Nationals did it. Okay. And in 2019, they did it. Okay, great. That is a one-off. You have a bad first month of the season. Good luck recovering. Unless you're going to be the 2007 Rockies and go on a 20-game winning streak. Good luck. That's how much every single month counts. That's how much it counts.
Nah.
That's why the trade deadline should be at the end of May, not flipping middle of July.
And no, that makes sense. I agree with the trade deadline for the MLB because, like, teams, I wish that the NFL would kind of follow what the MLB does. It's not halfway through the season. For whatever reason, they have this, like, arbitrary deadline of halfway through the season, you have a trade deadline.
That's what MLB has.
It's
MLB
not
has it.
half, though. It's not half.
It's past,
July
it's
is not
past
half.
halfway. It's
Exactly.
past halfway.
Exactly.
It needs to be before.
It needs to stay because teams that
It
by
needs
the
to
by the
start.
time July hits, non-competitive teams that know they're not doing crap, they're gonna trade away their players to a competitive team. And I like that. I love the trade deadline for the MLB because good players get the chance to compete when they can actually see what teams are actually going to be good. The NFL, I don't have the stats in front of me, but probably 3/4 of the league for the NFL teams probably thought by week 8 they were still in the hunt to make the playoffs. We all knew that wasn't true, but the trade deadline is at the middle of the season. No team has a good gauge on where they are halfway through the season. Make it
I guess
10.
after, and I'll agree with you. I would actually say make it week 4 because if you're
No.
if you're 4-0 and the other team is 0-4, they ain't going anywhere unless they play for the
No.
AFC South or the NFC South. Like they ain't going anywhere. So maybe week 10. Make it week 10.
Week 10, Week 10 would be perfect. Like midway through the season, like, okay, like imagine you're 4-4 and you're like, okay, are we good? Are we not? And then you lose the next 2, and then you only have 5-6 games left. Like, okay, we're not doing crap this year. Let's go trade for a really good player that we're missing a piece. By the time you figure out you need a piece in the NFL, you're picking up scraps off the street. And what good is that going to be for the team? A la
How dare you
Dalvin
call
Cook.
Mason Crosby a scrap? How dare you?
Look at where Dalvin Cook got cut by the Jets this past year and then signed with the Ravens because he thought he was going to be on a competitive team. That was not like he was like end of the season though. So that maybe not be the best example, but week 10, week 11,
Week
that is
16.
around the time where that That's why I said it wasn't a very good example.
Wild card round
being the same. I think week 10 would be solid for the NFL, and the MLB should maybe even push it towards August, just deadline, no matter where it lands, how many games. August 1st, the home stretch of the MLB season, just make the trade deadline, and teams that want to go all in when you know you're in it. It makes sense to me.
I can see it. But going back to baseball, okay? Now that you've agreed with me, the season's not too long, and you wish there were more.
No.
I'm glad.
Disclaimer, I never said that.
I want to make one quick hit on my TikTok I did on Rob Manfred retiring.
Yeah.
I haven't changed my mind. I haven't been so happy in such a long time to hear that one man is willingly leaving his job. I cannot stand the man. And one of the reasons the other reason I can't stand him either is, and like I said, in the talk that Manfred works for the owners. I get it. But if you're the MLB commissioner and your sole existence and your pride should derive partly from what you do for a living, wouldn't you want to make the product on the field better? Wouldn't you want to make, if the game is so long as it is, wouldn't you want to make it that much more enjoyable for players, for fans, for organizations, for cities? I bring all this up because too many teams just cash it in. They just cash it in. And they don't spend any money. And I don't understand, why are you penalizing teams who are willing to spend money? If you're an owner, not named Tom Ricketts because he won't spend a freaking dime. If you're an owner and you spend oodles of money, I applaud you. Keep doing it. Please keep doing it.
I agree.
But if you're going to be an owner who spends almost nothing, wouldn't that be the reason why you should have a spending minimum?
Yeah.
If you're trying to produce products on the field that are watchable. Instead of saying, "Oh, you rich people, you're the problem with society." No, you know what the problem with society is? Rich people who think they're poor. All right, you make these rich people spend some money. Come on, throw some moolah at some players. I think the minimum should be every single major league team should have a minimum player budget, like on-field product of at least $100 million. That should, and if you go lower than that, you get draft picks costs from you. I can't understand, and I could not give any less crap about these owners who have mid-market teams and small market teams. Oh, we just don't have the money. You're a flipping billionaire, dude. You've got all the money in the world. You could feed the entire county of Oakland if you wanted to, but you don't want to spend any money. And you don't want to spend any money because you hired a guy who's going to sit there and say, you don't have to buy anything, sweetheart. Be the pretty little girl in the corner who just buys off the discount rack. No. You need to spend some money. And that's my problem with Manfred. That's not my problem. Another problem I have with Manfred.
One of your problems.
One of the myriad of issues I have with him is that he is the MLB commissioner. He can sit there and say, "Hey, I get it. Owners, this is what you want. I get it. But we're trying to build a watchable product." People aren't not watching the games because the season's too long. People aren't not watching the games. People are not watching the games because half of the products on the field are suboptimal. You got billionaire owners who are complaining that they're poor. Give me a break. Are you kidding me? You've got oodles of money. You can build stadiums out of your own pocket. And you're going to sit there and say you got no money. And partly, I blame a large portion of that to Manfred because he babied these owners. He babied them. And now it's the owners who are willing to spend, who are willing to put a product on the field, who pay the penalty for spending too much on their team? Are you kidding me? I grew up in the 90s, well before you were born. And the Yankees were the cream of the crop. People hated the Yankees because they had all that money to spend. Well, now we live in an age where half the owners have all the money in the world. They can all spend it. We should all aspire to be the 90s Yankees. Every major league owner should aspire to be the team who bought a World Series. I don't give a crap about your farm system. Great. You got a lot of potential. Ooh, wonderful. Sounds like a lot of women I never married, okay? You got a lot of potential, all right? But to sit there and say that my whole business plan is based on players that I own for a nickel, as opposed to sitting there trying to put a team on the field that can win me a pennant every year, give me a break. Give me a break. And Rob Manfred needs to go. He needs to go because he is so spineless. He is unwilling. I would even say he's incapable of standing up to the owners who, I know they say he works for the owners. Who's to say? No, they hired him. Have some leverage. You want me? I will give you these things, but these things need to exist too. You don't want me? Fire me. Go find a guy who's willing to get you most of the things that you want. But I'm not going to be the guy who's going to give you everything you want. The MLB commissioner, I know he works for the owners, but he should be there for the game of baseball. He should be there for the game of baseball. I don't want to see his face handing out a trophy to the World Series winners. I don't want to see that. I absolutely don't want to see Manfred do it because it already tells me he doesn't give a crap about the players of the game. But if you're going to be an MLB commissioner, do that. So, au revoir, Rob Manfred, Bobby Manchild. But you need to go and you need to have someone in there who's willing to stand up for whoever he works for.
I was very happy to hear you say that everybody should be Yankees fans. That was really soothing to my heart.
We're going to delete that. I muted myself when I said it.
I
so
heard
no
it.
one's gonna hear it.
I heard it here.
There's going to be dead
JB
silence.
said everybody should be Yankees fans. But on the Manfred's aspect, I saw what you had to say about him when the news broke, and
Yeah.
I struggled to actually resonate with what you were saying. I think he's done a good job. Besides the COVID shut down the league thing, which I guess so about it. But he has done the things that are required to make baseball more popular. The changes, the biggest, most blaring example of that is the changes to the rules that were implemented last year. I loved the changes to the rules. The
Yeah.
bigger bases, that was great. Like it's not noticed as much, but I'm sure if you looked at the statistics, there was more close call stolen bases that probably wouldn't have happened years prior. The pitch clock was a game changer to me, and it was great. It cut down the length of baseball games by what 35 to 45 minutes, which is a huge
Almost an
amount of
hour.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. So that
Mhm.
alone, those two things recently, and maybe I have recency bias where I'm like, okay, well, recently he did a couple
do.
good things, but
You're tiny.
yeah.
You're-
Well, I wasn't conscious in the time where he was,
You're a young
more
man.
impactful. Yeah, exactly.
Still trying to find his way in the world. Yeah.
But I can't agree with you that he's been bad for the sport or for the league itself. I think he's done I think the commissioner's job maybe is to appease the owners. Obviously, we know that he's their puppet. He's the one that takes all the shots whenever shit goes wrong. So I get that, but it's all his job is also to put out a good product for the entire audience, the entire world that is watching. And I think he's maybe prioritize that aspect of things instead of prioritizing players. But that priority, he's done a good job at. I think he's made good strides to make baseball more watchable, bring in younger audiences, make baseball faster, more exciting. Like all those things, I don't think are negative, and those were all thanks to him. I think he was a driving force behind those things.
Yeah. I'm not saying everything he did was negative. He did some positive things. I actually appreciate the rule changes. I appreciate even more the rule change coming this year where the base runner can have the whole length of the dirt. I think that's important to understand that ball players, the hitters were not allowed to run on all of the dirt. It is
please
the
explain
dumbest
that.
thing ever. It's so stupid. I agree with the bigger bases. That wasn't Rob Manfred. That was Theo Epstein who came up with that. And that was Rob Manfred who allowed it to be implemented. I get it.
Whatever,
The pitch
potato,
clock?
potato.
No, not really. The pitch clock was okay. All right. I'm 50-50 on the pitch clock. I am. Because I'm not a fair weather fan. I love 3-hour games. I love watching baseball for 6 hours a day. I love watching baseball for 24 hours a day. If I wish there's a game for every 3-hour segment of the day. I can just watch baseball all the time. But the bigger bases was great because it impacted the action of the game. And stolen bases is one of those things that I miss seeing. I do.
Yeah.
And so these rule changes were not bad. They're not bad rule changes. And there's other rule changes coming too. And I'm anxious to see how they come to be. I am. But when you oversee a sport, and maybe this is his attempt to undo all the spineless crap that he committed the previous, 10 years that he's been commissioner. But being someone who's watched this game his entire life, I've watched this game almost my entire life. And I'm not saying he's the worst commissioner there's ever been. There's been a string. Baseball hasn't, I'll just get this straight. Baseball hasn't had a decent commissioner in 50 years. Okay. It's been bust after bust after bust after bust. And I get Rob Manfred is doing his best to be able to bring more people into the game. I get it. The strike of 94 hurt the game, and we're still feeling it 30 years later. We're still feeling it. My problem is that I get he works for the owners, but he has very little, or he had very little eye or very little conviction to look at the game of baseball as a whole and say, this is what we need. This is what the game needs. I'm an old school guy. I really
You
am.
are. Yep.
But I'm open to rules. I'm open to rule changes. I am. Okay. It used to be back way in the early 1900s. The hitters had every say on where the ball was thrown. The hitter could say, "I want it high and in," and the pitcher had to throw it high and in, just so he. And I get it. That's stupid. Okay, I get it. Putting the DH in the 70s, it was a fantastic rule if it applied to both leagues. It was the dumbest thing ever for 40, 50 years to have the DH only in one league is so asinine and so stupid. It's so dumb. But there's certain things about and certain characteristics about being an MLB commissioner where you have to look at the owners and say, I get this is what you want, but this is what the game needs right now. I will meet you in the middle. I'll meet you right here because I still have to oversee this game. This is my responsibility. I have to oversee this. And to sit there and honestly, the biggest rule thing that he changed was getting rid of, the winner of the league of who wins the All-Star game gets home field advantage. That was so stupid. And I'm glad he got rid of it.
Now I miss that. Now you tell me that doesn't exist anymore. I miss it.
But to sit there, and this goes way back, I think, to episode 2, where I talked about the steroids era.
Yeah.
He was so silent and ambiguous when it came to the biggest, like the most prominent name when it comes to lifelong ban, Pete Rose. He was so ambiguous, silent on it. And yet, if you're not going to allow players who took steroids into the Hall of Fame, why are you not banning them from the sport permanently? Why are you going to sit there and say, oh, well, you can do your thing, but you'll pay the price later? Oh, that team cheated? Oh, who gives a crap? It's just a hunk of metal as it is. And he said those words, Manny. He said those words. He just insulted not just the fans, but the players. He's overseeing this entire game, and he insults the players by saying it's just a hunk of metal. And then when it's almost countless to me. I have to stop myself from going on a rant here because I go on forever. But outside of the last 1 year, the last one calendar baseball year where rules were implemented to change the game, to bring in more fans, to bring more action into the game, fantastic. But and I'm not saying that he cannot make up for his legacy as MLB commissioner in the next 5 years. I'm not saying that. He absolutely could. And I have a list of things that he could do in order to make up his name. And I'll save that for another time. But I'm not, and so I'm not saying that it's going to be forever where I'm like, oh, good gracious, I'm glad he's gone. He could change that. He could change that narrative if only he grew a spine. If only. If only. Look, the lion got courage. Okay? All right? Dorothy grew a spine. Dorothy grew a spine. Okay? If a pre-adolescent girl can grow a spine, I'm sure a middle-aged man can grow a spine. I'm sure that can happen. I would like to see more from the man who's supposed to be the shepherd, the gatekeeper of the game that I love. I have to see more. I want to see more. And to sit there and to use I work for the owners as a cop-out, that is unacceptable. To not call out one of the 30 owners who blatantly knew his team was cheating to win a World Series. to not throw him under the bus is it's almost the unforgivable sin in my eyes. Almost. I didn't say I couldn't forgive it. It's almost. But he has a long way to go. A long way to go before I even begin to look at him in a positive light.
Well, maybe with him announcing with this early on that he's going to retire, which he has 3 seasons before he's completely gone. He's going to be gone
Five
after this.
seasons. He's
5
got
seasons.
5 seasons
Five
left.
seasons.
And need I remind you, Bud Selig did that 3 times. Okay, it took him a long time to leave.
Well,
And
maybe
so-
if his conviction is actually set on him not signing another extension, maybe he'll have that mentality of, you know what, F it, I'm gonna do what I think is best, regardless of what the owners say. They can't fire me, like the silent quitter mentality, and just make the changes that you want to see. And maybe the next 5 years for baseball will be the most progressive 5 years you've ever seen in baseball.
Maybe it will be. Maybe the game will have changed in such a way where even I'm excited to see the changes in it. You know, and,
I mean, I know
and
I
it's not
am.
even it's not even hinged on the changes. It's just hinged on how he operates with the owners.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. I get changes. That's great. Those are easy to implement. That's easy. The owners really have nothing to do with that. I've already said the owners give zero craps about the players on the field. They just don't. They don't care.
That's pretty typical. I mean, name me a
It is typical.
sports
That's not
franchise
surprising to
owner
me.
that cares about the players. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
It's
that's not surprising
that's like
to me
such
at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's not isolated to baseball either. That is a typical like stance that most sports owners take, and they don't care about the players. Like, we know that left and right. It's all about the money and what kind of profit margins they can make just by putting out whatever crap or all-star level product on the field or
And I get
stadium, or
it.
whatever you want to call it.
And here's the most ironic thing about the owners: if you spent more money, you'd make more money.
Yeah. Again, us as fans, we see it, but they don't see it. They look at short-term gains, and they don't realize that the bigger picture will actually make them their goal, which is to line their pockets with as much money as they can. But we
I hope
are in those positions.
all these small market owners are happy being buried with the oodles of cash that they have and bringing zero happiness to the fan base of the city that they were so they were blessed with this ability and this opportunity to bless the city that they were that they of the team that they owned, and they get to be buried with all the money they didn't spend.
Well, as a Yankees fan, I'll tell you, I'm happy that that's how it goes, because the Yankees, until they had like a 3-4 year span where they didn't want to spend, but as Yankees fans, the Yankees aren't afraid of spending money, and
They're not.
I love
I
the
hope
fact
they
that
get
they're
Blake
not.
Snell. I
Yeah,
hope they
there we
get Blake
go.
Snell. I
We're
hope they
on-
get Blake Snell. I hope the Cubs get Bellinger. I hope the Cubs get Chapman. I hope the Cubs get Montgomery. I hope the Cubs outbid the Yankees for Snell. I hope all of these things happen. They won't
You're
happen
doing so.
at all.
You are doing so good. You are doing so
They
good.
won't happen at all. The most I can hope for as a Cubs fan is that they get Bellinger for, I don't know, $10. That's the most. I think that's the most Tom Ricketts is willing to spend. I think he's willing to break a 20. I'll go that far. He's willing to break a 20 to get one of the top free agents. Yeah.
I want 5 back.
I want that penny back, okay? I'm nickel back, okay? I gave you 20. I want 5 cents back.
Well, we are officially, as you said, as a Yankees fan, we are on Snell watch. I called it 2 weeks ago, or last week, 2 weeks ago. I called it, and we are officially on Yankee Snell watch. And if it happens, mark it here as a place
going to the Yankees.
where we saw it
He's
coming.
going to the Yankees. Jordan Montgomery's going to go to the Orioles. Matt Chapman's probably going to go to the Giants. Bellinger's probably going to go to the Cubs. That's it.
Well, just have it on the record that we called it here first. But
we did call it here first.
We're now that we know the NBA is back into mediocre full gear, we're gonna start kicking into what the hell the NBA is doing and where these playoffs are leading to. we have the NCAA men's college basketball tournament coming up that we will keep
Yeah.
tabs on. That's always exciting
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, and then whatever.
Yeah.
Brackets
And the one
are
team people
busted.
pretend to care about, Gonzaga, yeah, maybe we'll cover them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about fair weather fans. Yeah, I know you love Gonzaga. Yeah.
We have UConn and we have Gonzaga. We have the same typical Final Four. We'll get into that at a later time. Something to look forward to. The NBA is gonna try and bring us back into us caring about what the hell's going on until April when the playoffs start, and we'll discuss all of it. We're gonna discuss that, and at the same time, the NHL is kind of gearing up. So far, the
They are
NHL
gearing up. Yep.
it's
About
been
that
good.
time of the year I start watching NHL games again.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. It's right around
Yeah.
the corner. Playoffs start right at the end of
Yeah.
April, and we're all
Mhm.
for it. And we'll have to break down
Yeah.
what the hell we see and what we love and what we don't love. To close things out, what have you been drinking, JB?
I drank this. So I heard an article about the best bottom shelf bourbon is Evan Williams, and you can get
Bottom
a
shelf.
regular bottle. Yeah, you can get a regular bottle for $13. I
Damn.
splurged on the bottom shelf and got this Evan Williams $20 bottled in bond, and it was honestly, I didn't realize I was drinking bottom shelf bourbon the whole time.
Well,
It's been really tasty. It's not it's not really sweet as like cheap bourbon actually is. It tastes like a middle shelf bourbon. It honestly does.
not bad. The one thing I won't forgive is the fact that you said splurging on bottom shelf, which those two phrases should never be in the same sentence. But
I know I sound like an MLB owner here.
yeah. I actually changed things up this time around. I was drinking an old fashioned instead of straight up
Ooh.
yes, I was drinking an old
What was your
fashioned.
whiskey of choice?
So here's the thing. I bought my partner for Christmas. I bought him a Bartesian, which is like an automatic cocktail maker that you just put
Ooh.
whatever bottle of liquors that you have a
Should buy
little
your friend that.
yeah, well, considering the price, maybe not. But so you put your bottle of whiskey, you put your bottle of rum, tequila, and gin, and you buy these capsules like Keurig cups, and you put them in there. They come with barcodes, and it scans what drink it is, and it'll kind of balance it out perfectly. So we're actually using mid bottom shelf. We're using Jack Daniels in the Bartesian right now, and I'll tell you what,
Okay.
an old fashioned with Jack Daniels, it was Jack Daniels is a little rough to the palate if you're drinking it straight up. But this old fashioned, as you can tell, I finished it a while back. I'm gonna top it off.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, it was good. It was a little change up, and it was super neat. It was so far we've both been loving that thing, and it is like it has the perfect quality and the perfect ratio for like cocktails and sours or whatever, not to whatever liquor you add to it. So it's a nice little change up, and I really enjoyed our sipping this old fashioned while we were ranting and clashing head to head about the topics that we disagree on.
I love that you had a drink to retreat to when you were being defeated. It makes me feel good.
Hardly.
It makes me feel good.
if we want to recap, we sat here and you agreed that the baseball league was too long, and you agreed that we should all be Yankees fans. So I feel like I was on the winning. I feel like we ended on me winning these arguments.
I feel like there's some revisionist history happening here on at least one of those points.
Well, anyways, we're gonna get out of here. Thanks to everybody that's watching / listening. Check us out on YouTube, Box Scores and Bourbon. We are on TikTok, BSB Sports 24, and we are on Spotify, Box Scores and Bourbon. Close yourself out and say goodbye to everybody, JB.
A pleasure, folks. Cheers to everyone.
Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll see you on the other side.